You hear this often, worse than Watergate. When it comes to Donald Trump asking for Ukraine to help him win re-election, though, consider what former Acting Solicitor General Neil Katyal says. This really is worse.
It's about as grave an offense as you can imagine. I mean, even Richard Nixon, when he ordered the Watergate break-in, didn't have the imagination to outsource it to a foreign government or a foreign intelligence service. Here, Donald Trump is doing exactly that.
As promised, I want to turn now to Richard Benveniste. He served as a top prosecutor on the Watergate Task Force as a former assistant U.S. attorney in SDNY, also a celebrated member of the 9/11 Commission. You've held many different public service posts. I appreciate you making time tonight, sir.
Well, thank you for inviting me.
I have a lot of questions for you, but I begin with your view of what the Speaker has set out tonight and whether you think this is an advancement on the road to articles of impeachment.
I think it is. I think she has put this in a posture of utmost seriousness. It appears to me that Speaker Pelosi is moving toward the appointment of a select committee. I think that would be an interesting development in moving this along. And I think what we have seen is perhaps the straw that breaks the camel's back in terms of a discussion of impeachment.
And is that, in your view, sir, is that straw substantively stronger than the other allegations and incidents that are seen as impeachable? Because this is, as we were discussing with our experts, something that the president has done in office relating to his reelection, and he's admitted part of it.
I think so. I think, however, that this is all cumulative to the idea that the president has espoused of soliciting help from foreign governments in connection with his own personal political needs. And to do this is a departure from the normative behavior of a president of the United States, and it's very dangerous. Are we choosing up sides now in our political process to solicit help from different governments in different countries, asking for different things from our country?
Let me ask you this. In your view, based on what's publicly known, is it an impeachable abuse of power?
I think it is abusive, and I think it goes along with the disregard that the president has shown for the way in which our country has operated in the past in terms of balance of power. The ignoring of subpoenas, the bogus claims of executive privilege, the refusal to honor subpoenas for documents and testimony. All of these things, along with the advice to witnesses in the Mueller probe not to cooperate with Mueller, all of these things are cumulative to behavior that is so different from what we have come to expect from the chief executive of the United States and the chief law enforcement officer.
You remember your contemporary Carl Bernstein?
I do.
Here's what he has to say about the Ukraine scandal.
I keep getting asked, are there echoes of Watergate in this? And there are in the following ways. Watergate was very much an attempt by Richard Nixon to undermine the democratic electoral process.
Do you agree with the way he puts it there?
Well, yes, there are many analogies to Watergate and to the behaviors of Richard Nixon. But at the end of the day, I would note that Richard Nixon exhibited a sense of shame. We have not yet seen that in this president.
I want to keep you here and turn to Jason Johnson and talk about something that can get lost, which is we're dealing with a president who's admitting things that may be illegal and may be impeachable. The Congress will decide. But it's not coming out of the blue, as Richard and others are mentioning. It comes in the context of a president who's had more aides indicted earlier in his presidency than anyone in history at this stage of their presidency, and whose campaign manager and lawyer are sitting in jail right now. I'm going to put up so everyone can remember. You've got Paul Manafort, you've got Michael Cohen, you've got Mike Flynn, Papadopoulos, Gates. That's 5 individuals, Jason, who have been convicted and pled guilty in every facet, so no debate whatsoever. Mr. Stone remains legally presumed innocent, but he's the president's longest advisor. He's awaiting trial on some serious obstruction issues. And then, Jason, take a look at the historical timeline, which I think on a night like tonight is pretty significant. Those are the aides charged. And now look at the timeline. This is where Donald Trump is. Obama, 8 years and a 0. President Clinton, 3. Nixon, 12, both those coming much later. Donald Trump is record-breaking when it comes to indictments and convictions of his own aides. Do you think that is an important piece of living historical context as the Congress decides whether to go down this very constitutionally drastic role of potentially considering articles of impeachment?
Oh, definitely, Ari, because all of these scandals, all of these indictments, you know, a lot of them were summarized in the Mueller report. And basically, ever since the Mueller report dropped, like, Congress has been waiting for Nancy Pelosi to say, get the strap, right? Like, it's time to go. We know who this guy is. It's time to escalate. It's time to move forward. And so we already know, the country knows, the voters know, the caucus goers in Iowa know, the members of Congress already know the president has engaged in impeachable behavior. The biggest impediment thus far had actually been Speaker Pelosi herself. One part of it is she could count, but also she had sort of thrown water on the whole thing all along, saying, well, I don't really know. We got to have the public lead. It's got to be a bipartisan event. And now she recognizes that we have moved past the point. So to go to your question, yes, we have history that has built up to this point that we knew was coming. But on top of that, there is no off-ramp. We are all going off this bridge together. There is no way, after what Pelosi has announced today, that in 3 months or 4 months or 5 months, by the time we are halfway through Super Tuesday, she cannot not have had some sort of floor vote. And it's going to be very critical for her to do something before people get frustrated.
I think you talk about frustration. I think you're hitting it. That's the key question. That's what we've been reporting out. That's what we've been talking to people about. That's why she did, I should note, back off talk of a select committee and say, no, it's going to be judiciary, which was seen by many progressives and pro-impeachment people in the caucus as a sign of supporting Jerry Nadler and being aggressive. And yet, Jason, you know how we do. And we love you, but we do it to anyone on the show. We're going to clip that sound and play it back to you in 3 months if what you say has not happened, because I don't have as good a crystal ball as you.
Thanks for watching. To see more videos, click right here, and subscribe.